Hey guys, today we're going to review how to solve linear systems graphically. Now we've already done this, but I talked to Mr. Williams and he gave me some ideas of what to go over at the end of the school year so that you guys are better prepared for geometry or foundations of geometry depending on what course you take next year. So, starting with graphing, a few things that we have to remember. When we're solving linear systems graphically, the solution that we're looking for is where the two lines intersect. Now, when graphing, we have to remember that in order to graph these linear equations, we need to get it in standard form, y equals mx plus b. So if y is not alone in this form, we need to isolate y and algebraically get y alone. Now, from y equals mx plus b, hopefully you remember what each part represents. And that means that m, you hopefully remember, is the slope, which we talk about is rise over run. Rise being how much you go up or down, and run being how much you go to the left or to the right. And your b value is known as the y-intercept. And that is where you are going to start your graph by making your first point on the y-axis at that point, and then using your slope to figure out where to go from there. So the first question that we have in our notes, we have two lines. They are both in the correct format, the standard form y equals mx plus b. So the first one, the slope is a negative 1/3. So that means we are going to go down 1 and to the right 3. And we are going to start at the y-intercept of 2. So there's my point at 2, and from there I'm going to go down 1 and to the right 3. Now technically I only need 2 points to make a line, but if you wanted to do a third point, in order to keep it on the graph, you would have to go up 1 direction and to the left 3 in order to make sure that it's still going in a negative slope. And once you have your points, just find something that is straight, whether it's a folder, the edge of a binder, if you have a ruler, great, and make a straight line. So that's the best I could do. Hopefully yours is a little neater. And then make sure that you label your line with the equation. Oh, Lord. Okay, the second graph is going to start at negative 3. So our y-intercept on the other one is negative 3. That's where we're going to start. And our slope on this one is negative 2. So to make that into a fraction, you can always put that over 1. And what that tells us is that we are going to go down 2 and to the right 1. Now, if you notice, if you keep doing that, you're going to go off the page. So we are going to go in the opposite direction, and we're going to go up 2 and to the left 1. And we're going to keep doing that process until we hit our other line. Once they hit, go ahead, use your straight edge to make a line make sure you have arrows and label it with the equation. And the most important part is that you figure out where these two lines meet, and you're going to write that as an ordered pair. So these two lines are going to intersect at -3, 3. And just so that it stands out a little bit more, going to bubble it in. And that is our answer. On to question number 2. Okay, question 2. The first equation, y equals -x plus 1, is already in standard form, and our y-intercept is 1, so that's where we're going to start our graph. And our slope here, the number that is in front of x, is just a -1, so you can put that over 1 to make it a fraction. And that means that you are going to go down 1 and to the right 1, or if you want to go in the opposite direction, you can go up 1, but then you would have to go to the left 1. Now, our second equation is different. There is no y value, it's just x equals 3. Which, if you think about this, it's telling you that no matter the y value, x is always 3. So if you go to the x-axis at 3, and then you figure out, well, if its x value has to be 3 no matter what, then really you're just going to have points all throughout the x line at 3, and it's going to turn into a vertical line going through the x-axis at 3. Make sure you label your equation, and then we care about this point that they intersect, and that point is going to be, I'll put it over here just to see it better, the point 3, -2, and that is our final answer, so we'll just bubble that in so that it stands out. 3, -2. Okay, on to question 3. Now you'll notice in question 3 that both of these equations are not in standard form, so you need to manipulate each of them to get y alone. So starting with the first one, I'm going to just rewrite it over here so that I have room to work. Now, in order to get y alone, I'm first going to move the x, and I'm going to do that by subtracting it to the other side. When I subtract it, I still have -4y left on the left, and I always want it in mx plus b format. Remember, we're trying to get it into y equals mx plus b. So I want my x term first. So I'm going to have -x, then I have -4. Then, to get y alone, currently it's being attached through multiplication with -4. The opposite of multiplying by -4 is dividing by -4. And in order to keep the equation balanced, I need to divide every single term by -4. Now, the next part we tend to mess up on, so you might want to put a little 1 in front of the x so that you can see the fraction more clearly. -x divided by -4 is the fraction 1/4 x. And -4 divided by -4 is a +1. Now that I have that in standard form, I'm going to graph that. So I'm going to start at 1 on the y-axis, and since I have a +1/4 slope, I can go up 1 and to the right 4. I can also go down 1 and to the left 4. Now I'm going to get y alone in the second equation, so I'm going to start by subtracting 5x to both sides. When I do that, I'm left with -4y equals, I always put the x term first, -5x plus 12. Then, to get y alone, opposite of multiplying by -4 is dividing by -4. So I'm going to divide every single term by -4. and I'm left with the equation y equals 5/4 x minus 3. I want to keep 5/4 as a fraction because it's really hard if I turn that into a decimal to graph it, so just keep your slope as a fraction to make it easier. And I'm going to start with my y-intercept of -3, and my slope is a positive 5/4, so I'm going to go up 5 and to the right 4. Make sure that you label your equations. They both have arrows. Label the lines of the equation, sorry. And your final answer is the ordered pair where they intersect, which in this scenario is going to be the point 4, 2. And we will bubble that in so that it stands out. And we're ready for the last question, number 4. Question 4 is not in standard form. You need to get y alone in both equations. So go ahead and pause the video now so that you can try it on your own, and when you're ready, when you resume it, you'll see my answer. Okay, so hopefully you got the same equations that I did, which from the first one I got y equals 1/3 x plus 2, and from the second equation I got y equals 2x minus 3. So now we're going to graph them. So go ahead and pause the video now to see if you can graph them correctly without my help. And when you're ready, just hit resume, and then you can see the graphs that I got, and hopefully they match your answer. Hopefully your lines match mine, and the ordered pair that they intersect is going to be the point 3, 3. And now, one more thing before we conclude our notes for today. If you're having difficulty with which way your line should be pointing, and if you're messing up the slope at all, then one thing that you should remember is slope man. And remember with slope man, he looks like this, where you have a positive slope, a negative slope, an undefined slope, and a zero slope. So mainly with these types of lines, we have a lot of positive and negative slopes, and hopefully Slope Man will help you remember how to construct your lines. But that is going to conclude our notes for today.